Welcome to HMG Live, a production of HMG Strategy, your global partner helping you to reimagine the business and reinvent the future of work. Home to the HMG Marketplace, a fast, easy, safe, and efficient way to connect with the right vendors for your technology needs.
My own personal experience with connections actually does start with HMG, where I would attend HMG events for the networking opportunities, the opportunity to learn from my peers. It's one of the ways that I became an effective CIO at KLA Tencor. And it was actually at an HMG event in 2010 that I got connected to the recruiters at Facebook through a CIO here. These types of events and functions are really important, both for people to develop themselves, but also for us to just make our profession more effective, because we can cross-pollinate ideas and help each other innovate by learning from each other's mistakes and each other's successes. And I think HMG probably does this better than anybody.
And now, a warm welcome to today's host, Lead Principal and CEO of HMG Strategy, Hunter Muller.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the 2020 Seattle CIO Executive Leadership Summit. I'm Hunter Muller, Lead Principal at HMG Strategy. My team and I are delighted to be here with you today. The title of today's summit, Learning from the Past and Present to Reshape the Future of Business. Well, I would say it's more like leading and leaning into one of the most difficult economic environments we've seen in some time, in at least 12 years, right? Leading and innovating and disrupting and reimagining the customer journey, as well as new business models, new go-to-markets. The role of the CIO, CTO, and CISO has never been more important in the enterprise, never been more really charged with facilitating, enabling, and leading innovation in a safe, secure work from anywhere environment. So I think we have an amazing agenda lined up for you today. Amazing speakers, a great content. Let's get rolling. Straight up is RingCentral. RingCentral is a strategic partner for our event here. RingCentral work together from anywhere, bring employees and customers together with the world's #1 business communications platform. RingCentral supports any mode, any device, anywhere. It's easy to use, easy to buy, easy to manage, secure, reliable, and open. Over 400,000 customers and partners globally trust RingCentral in their search for the world's easiest meetings platform. Check RingCentral out. They're a great company. As well, our other partners include Duo, Ivanti, Rimini Street, and Zylo. You'll be hearing from each of them later today. And check out the marketplace. We have some amazing partners in the marketplace that you will not actually get in front of unless you're with HMG. So off the homepage, hit Marketplace and learn more inside the HMG Marketplace. I believe we have a little brief survey looking for some input on the marketplace. So if you would populate the quick poll with what are your organization's specific technologies needs now? Let's learn more about how we can help out at HMG. And then a short video on the marketplace. Please hit submit.
Many tech leaders are struggling to find the right solution to their technical business problems. HMG Strategy has created the HMG Marketplace and Reference Center to connect tech leaders with subject matter experts from peer-vetted providers of critical services and hot new technologies.
The HMG Marketplace, think of it as a reference center, a library to find out more about our partner companies and then set up a meeting.
It's challenging for all of us that we can't be together at these events. You won't be meeting necessarily with a salesperson. You're going to be meeting with myself, our senior executive team.
This truly is a game changer. So again, real excited about the launching of the marketplace. Please check it out and support the event, support the HMG platform, and visit with our partners. You can easily set up 20, 30-minute meetings off of the forums in the marketplace. And again, thanks for dialing in. Let's get going. And next up, we have Trevor Schultz, the Senior Vice President, CIO of RingCentral. Trevor, great to see you.
Hey, Hunter, great to see you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, so the title of this fireside chat is Change to Win, and the next phase is Good to Go. What is that all about?
Well, I think there's a lot of discussion going on right now about what's next. I think over the last couple quarters, people have been talking about now and the change that they have to enact now. And I'm more interested in where we have to go next, what the business is asking for us, and what a lot of people are calling new normal, next normal, give it a name.
Sure, makes sense, a lot of sense. You often talk about the systems of experience. Mm-hmm. You need to define what that means and why is that relevant and importance to the enterprise CIO and tech leader?
So I think this is a new category in my mind. I think everyone is searching for what matters and how they affect businesses going forward. And I think everyone has sort of heard the systems of record, they've heard systems of engagement, and now I'm suggesting a new category called systems of experience. This is a new and next evolution of those concepts. And I think it's important for digital leaders to grasp this trend. And the way I've been looking at this and the way I've been speaking to other digital leaders is, we're in this service economy. And the service economy up to this point has been analog and now it's digital. People have been giving it a name, digital transformation and whatnot. And this whole environment we're in has accelerated these systems of experience. And these are digital platforms that deliver mass service at scale. And if you give it some words, what defines a systems of experience? It's something that's hyper individualized, it's immersive, it's communal, it's enduring. You hear people use concepts like omni-channel, but the most important is that it's simple and intelligent. And it's driving, I think, a lot of the mega trends that are out there right now.
When you think of it, the platform wins, right? The ecosystem wins. And you think of the companies that really master that, they're just dominating in their categories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can look at examples of what I'm categorizing as systems experience. Think of like how healthcare is changing, telehealth. Think about how people who are looking at working out differently, like Peloton. People who are looking for new shopping experiences, things like Stitch Fix and M. Taylor. You can go category after category, and what you're seeing are digital leaders who are grasping the systems of experience concept, and they're applying it to revenue, they're applying it to customer experience, they're applying it to employee experience. And we at RingCentral believe that this huge shift around business communications is also a systems of experience, and it's one that's tied towards the employee.
You guys are hitting on all cylinders right now in terms of revenue, customer experience, and employee experience. Talk to us a little bit more about what are you seeing?
So I think all three tie. When I'm out talking to executives in terms of what is going on, where are they going, what matters, first and foremost, people are talking about the employee. How we have people who are going to be able to work from anywhere. How are we going to attract talent in this new blended, flexible, hybrid work model? So if you're hiring the best, you have the talent that's looking for this flexibility, you create this seamless employee experience. People who can work from anywhere, have digital assets like RingCentral and others help enable them. And then if you have an employee that's engaged and it has this seamless environment to collaborate with anyone, anywhere, anytime, it also helps with your customer experience. Like that engaged employee now can engage in the customer, who, by the way, the customers are demanding an experience with the brand. And so, all those things I talked about earlier drive that new customer experience. And then, so you've got the employees driving the customer, and then ultimately it drives revenue. I mean, the companies that are going to win in the normal that's ahead of us are the ones who are truly grasping what it means to create that truly mass service experience for the employee, for the customer, which drives the brand.
Brilliant stuff, Trevor. Really great thought leadership there. Now, what kind of leadership skills does a CIO need today and into the future to drive this complete, holistic, I'll call it, ecosystem of thinking?
Yeah, I'm out there a lot talking about just, you have to tear up the playbook. You have to think differently. Everyone keeps saying that, but I truly think that what's happened over the last 6 months has driven a hyper growth, hyper acceleration of what people are looking for out of companies. Things that seemed impossible to get done in a year happened overnight. And so you have to be a leader that's continuously learning. You have to be a leader that's willing to look at innovation differently. And you have to really understand what your employees need, what your customers need. You have to stop thinking about personas, and you have to stop thinking about, classic thinking here. I truly believe the companies that win are already moving, and it takes digital leaders to actually, lean into this new environment.
I totally agree with you on this piece. I think CIO and the tech leader needs to lead differently, think differently, lead courageously, lead authentically, lead passionately, and really rewrite the rules on and how the CIO, the tech leader, engages with the board, the C-suite, the line of business. What other kind of a piece of advice would you give us, a tech leader now today, trying to think completely different and rethinking their leadership style?
Oh yeah, I love this question, Hunter. I just want to turn this on its head. People have been talking about IT business alignment, IT business integration, IT getting on the same page with the business. I don't think CIOs should be, they shouldn't be focused on getting on the same page with the C-suite. And what I mean by that is that they need to rewrite the book. They need to collaborate in writing this new book about convergence of all things: technology, people, process, data. They shouldn't be trying to understand, they should be leading. And it's such a mindset shift. And if you don't have this courage to take that mindset shift, your competitors will. And we at RingCentral believe that we need to rewrite the book. We need to rewrite the what is happening in unified communications and collaboration. And that's where people are going to emerge out of this environment we're in right now as true winners, as true leaders of winning brands and winning companies.
I love the idea. What does winning really look like then, in its fullest form?
Winning means that you've created a beautiful experience for your employees, that you've created an exceptional new level of experience for your customers. And those are driving new revenue streams, new ideas. I mean, people are coming to brands now and saying, I want to connect. And I want it to be intelligent. I want it to know who I am. I don't want to have to tell it that. Our employees are saying that. Our customers are saying that. And this is a whole brand new way of thinking. So that's what I go back to: systems of experience. This isn't about creating fancy new workflow. This isn't about creating, buying the right thing. This is about thinking differently about where things are going in the coming years. And I challenge everyone to start thinking about, it doesn't matter if you're in healthcare, it doesn't matter if you're in manufacturing, every single vertical, every single digital leader in every vertical has to be thinking about systems of experience. And I'm super thrilled about this concept, and it's really catching steam.
So systems of experience, at the end of the day, it comes down to people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if I engage and want to buy something, I want it to know me. I want it to actually, help me and guide me, and stop having me be the one to have to search for it, because there's unlimited things that can happen in this environment. And, I think that this is just a category that's going to emerge, regardless if I give it a name or not. Digital leaders have to change their thinking. They have to really push themselves to go after this type of concept. This is the core of how people are driving their businesses. And this is where the winners are going to emerge.
Let's talk a little bit about what's uniquely different about RingCentral.
I'm just so blessed. I work at a company where I am in the future. People want to see business communications get simpler. They want it to be seamless. They want it to be reliable. They don't want to have to think about it anymore. They don't want to have to flip between a bunch of different apps, and they want to work from anywhere. It's got to be, it works from anywhere on any mode that if I choose. We at RingCentral believe that all of this needs to come together, and we're living in the future right now.
That truly is unique. And you must be working with all sorts of companies across industry and all sizes, right?
all sizes. I mean, we work from the small office, home office, all the way up to the Fortune 50. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're a company that was born in the phone, and we've moved into video this year. Fortunately, with everything going on, that played out well. And you know, messaging. Most people don't know that we also have the messaging platform. So, and it all works in one app. I mean, I can flip between all three and not have to change a screen. And I know that seems like, okay, does that make sense? We're the only people who do it. And by the way, we're open. We have an open platform that allows you to integrate your current workflow into our platform. We are not a walled garden. We believe that the communications and workflow of a company should be everywhere. But we also believe that a tight integration to a platform like ours just makes the employee experience better.
Hey, Trevor, I understand people can learn more about RingCentral in the HMG marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a look at the marketplace. I love what you've built there, Hunter. RingCentral's there, easy to find us.
Great to see you, Trevor. Talk soon.
Absolutely, Hunter. Always a pleasure, man. Great to see you.
Thanks now. Next up, we have Ralph Loura. Ralph, join me on the show.
Hey, Hunter.
Great to see you.
Good to see you as always.
Let's talk about leadership. Ralph, you've been always pleasantly surprised me with your leadership style. You know, Trevor kind of outlined this notion of we need a new playbook. And I know you've been thinking about kind of that new playbook or your version of it as a role model in the industry, one of the top CIOs. Share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so much out there, right? There are so many different approaches. There are so many different tools. There are different trends that are top of mind. People talk about, you know, DevOps or scaled agile framework or zero trust or AI, ML, RPA. There's, you know, you can get lost in the acronyms. You can get lost in the tools. But at the end of the day, it's about what are you creating? What are you trying to design? What are you trying to, you know, what are you trying to make out of all these tools? And so it's about your business. It's about how do you support what's occurring in your, you know, sector of the economy, in your vertical, in your leadership team, within your culture. So at the end of the day, far too many IT teams get wrapped up in technology. They focus on the, you know, the T in IT, and they don't focus enough on the business and the outcomes.
And why is that? What's inherent about the role of the tech leader? Kind of just looking back over the last 10 years, and it kind of rolls forward, right? In general, on scale, it's a bit of an echo chamber.
Yeah. So I think some of this comes down to an old leadership coach once gave me the metaphor of a helicopter and a blender. And he said a lot of people spend most of their day in the blender, right? You're down in the weeds, you're in the bowels of the organization, you're trying to help solve problems, enable to activity, work with the business on what happened today, this week, this month. And not enough leaders spend time in the helicopter, up above the org, looking out over the horizon, understanding what's about to come, and then playing a little bit of kind of playing a strategy game. Hey, what does this mean to me? I see this thing coming. What can I do if I can't control the economy? I can't control what's happening in the geopolitical landscape. What can I do technology-wise to enable or give my company better outcomes or better options or more tools to navigate whatever's coming at us? So spending more time up in the helicopter, so to speak, as opposed to down in the blender dealing with daily issues. And it's a trap. I think human nature is, it's easier to deal with, like, get stuck in your inbox, right? Deal with the thing in front of you. It's a lot more tangible and tactical to be able to go access that. It takes effort. It takes dedication and effort to step away from some of those daily distractions and think long-term and in an abstract way. It's harder to think and act in the abstract than it is in the tangible, you know, day-to-day.
You know, Ralph, you've had an amazing career, right? A really interesting history, perhaps one of the most diverse CIOs that I know in terms of background, some 6+ different roles, different industries. How has that helped really shape your viewpoint, your approach in these unprecedented economic, social, and technologically innovative times? Yeah,
it's interesting. So I've lived in very high growth, hyperscale, hypergrowth environments. I've lived through downsizing and layoffs structurally through an industry. I've lived through a business that I came to help reset. We did 5 years worth of earnings restatement and kind of rebuilt a company. I've lived through very small organizations becoming big. I've been acquired, and I've been the acquirer. I've been through one of the largest divestitures. So what's interesting is very different experiences, but at the end of the day, they all come down to the same, some of the same lessons. It's about being flexible. It's about really, not just on paper or because it seems right, but like really caring about your people, getting engaged with your people, understanding what they want out of, their role, their career, and kind of leaning in on people to help through those transitions. So the core theme under most of this is, it's not about the technology trend du jour. It's not about the, kind of hitting a number, so to speak. It's about working with your team and your people, putting the best people together and organizing them in interesting ways. So out of the things that appeal to me or I get excited about are things like DevOps, not because it's an interesting technology, because it's a new way of organizing work and organizing the way people deliver. I get excited about Scaled Agile Framework because it's an interesting way to work to reorganize the way we interface with our customer and consume work and see demand. I'm interested in things like Zero Trust, not because it's a technology issue, because it changes the way people interface with and experience technology. I've always been excited about things like technology business management because it's a different way to think about and connect to the value of the way companies work. And then later, we've been talking a lot internally about this concept of bigger, not better. Better, not bigger. Most people worry about getting bigger and growing. My goal within the org is I want to get better every day, every week, every month. I don't necessarily care about getting bigger, and in fact, often bigger is a challenge to getting better. So it's about that focus and being innovative in the way you approach things.
Hey, Ralph, a little bit about your role as the global CIO at Lumentum and the company Lumentum, the industry, the space you're in.
Yeah, so Lumentum is a kind of $1.6 billion, $1.7 billion global provider or manufacturer of photonics products. So we make a lot of things, anything that has to do with light and communication. So we power datacom, telecom, a lot of the internet, the 5G expansion. A lot of our products are consumed as part of that 5G work. We build sensors that play in what's really occurring in the world around. If you've got a phone that unlocks with your face, or you're using an AR or VR headset, or you're driving a car that's employing LiDAR, odds are you're incorporating our technology to make that work.
Interesting. When you think about TBM, I know you were very actively involved with it early on, in informing it as an amazing platform. What does TBM actually do, and how does it help you manage your technology spend like a business?
So at the core of TBM is this idea of transparency and alignment, right? It's being 100% aligned to the business value and the business outcome, and being transparent about the IT choices, the IT costs, the financial model that you use to align to achieve those outcomes. So what excited me about TBM from the beginning, and it's been an 8 or 9 year journey I'm still excited about, is that it's a way to directly connect IT to business outcomes and business value in a way that the business can understand, instantly. And so one of the things I think at the beginning of our conversation, why are people kind of caught up in the tech stack? Why are they not leading differently? Why aren't they following Trevor's advice? Because a lot of folks are caught, they don't have the understanding of their own budget, how it aligns. They have trouble making the connection between what a PC costs and generating revenue for sales. Like, to be able to understand services-based costing, connect effort to value, understand how the work you do on a daily basis impacts the productivity of the company. Those are things that are really important to running an IT organization effectively, even more so in times like these.
And a little bit about TBM, how it's set up as an organization.
Yeah, so TBM Council is a nonprofit, and it's set up essentially to create standards, to create understanding, to help people with a kind of common data model, a framework to be able to implement. And then within within my organization, I have a TBM leader that works in what most people call their IT governance team. In our case, we call it our enablement team. And it's really about the strategy, planning, and execution work, and making sure we're aligned on a daily basis on how we execute. So huge amount of credibility we get as a team. that we're actually doing what we say we're going to do, we're spending what we said we were going to spend, and it's generating the outcome we said it would, which is tough. One of my co-founders in this TBM work, Larry Godak, was CIO at First American Title. He recently retired, and he said one of his first meetings with his boss said, "Hey, I know how much we spend on IT, and I think you're making good choices, but like, how do I know? Like, I don't know where does the value come from? Is this the right amount to spend? Should we be spending more? Should we spend? I don't know. What should I spend it on?" And so TBM was in part the answer to that question.
Beautiful. Hey, Ralph, you've been a great supporter and engaged with the HMG platform and the network now for probably going on 8 to 10 years. What is it about this kind of process of meeting in a summit model and networking with other peer leaders in the HMG framework that really adds value to your ability to plan vision, strategy, and be successful?
Well, as I said earlier, it's the world we live in, the domain, the discipline that we've chosen to make our career in is really complicated, and it changes incredibly fast. New technologies, new vendors, new providers, new approaches, and new risks in the area of cyber and other areas. So you're not going to kind of keep current as to what's happening. You're not going to be effective as a leader, bringing those thoughts and helping your team and your company navigate that if you're sitting, well, now at home in your bedroom or your office, or sitting in the office at work. You got to get out and find out what's happening. You got to talk to other people. What are they seeing? What are they experiencing? What worked or didn't work for them? What worked or didn't work for you that you can share with the community? And so this idea of we're all sort of standing on the shoulders of everybody else. And the people that do that well, the people that listen, that engage, that communicate, and share are the ones I think that end up in a better position to be able to contribute to their companies.
Excellent. Great stuff. Hey, Ralph, thanks for coming on the program today. And we'll see you in a little bit on the panel, right?
You got it. Thanks, Hunter.
Super. Great to see you. Next up, we have Eric Christopher. Eric's the co-founder and CEO of Zylo. Eric, welcome to the program.
Hey, Hunter, how you doing?
Good to see you. Where do we find you today?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, in my home office, formerly my kids' playroom that I took over.
Love it, like all of us, right? Hey, Eric, give us a little high level on Zylo and why Zylo in this work from anywhere distributed environment, why Zylo matters now more than ever.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me and asking me a little bit about my company. I started Zylo 4 years ago. We're a SaaS management platform, and we help companies manage all of the applications in their environment from an employee productivity standpoint. So we help keep cost in check. So we monitor where your money's going and if your employees are using the products.
When you think of how 2020 has unfolded, right, and this work from anywhere environment and the focus on SaaS, how the events like this pandemic really impacted you and your clients?
A lot of the companies that started working with us in the early days were what I would call innovators of SaaS, where they're CIOs and procurement teams that already had an idea that SaaS was very pervasive in their environment. I can tell you this year woke up a lot of companies that really underestimated how much software was being deployed out in the business, out in departments like marketing and human resources and sales. And so this year has really kind of put a spotlight on the fact that SaaS is really being adopted really quickly, and the need for something like Zylo or for CIOs to manage it become more important.
For years we've had a debate on shadow IT. Is it good or is it bad? And if it is good, how can you leverage it and scale it? Any thoughts on shadow IT?
Yeah, shadow IT is just really it's now it's how software it's led by the employee purchase now. So when you think of shadows, everything now in an organization is software. It lives all over the organization. So I think we like to say we're putting a light on it or shining a bright light to show what's possible with it. So I think shadow IT is the best place for a CIO to look for innovation. So if software is being purchased by a department, you should pay attention to it. You should have tools to find it and see if that's an area to drive innovation.
Excellent. Great insights. Basically, what further should people do with shadow IT? How can they accelerate that innovation with the business?
Well, one thing, if you're shining the light on it, so putting tools in place to have visibility, there's lots of options. Like I'm sure you guys are familiar with CASB's tools like Zylo can help give visibility, but getting a system of record in place that shows what all of your employees are using gives you a chance to see what software is being adopted most quickly, where there might be overlaps. But that's really a good way is get visibility into it and then start to pay attention to the usage and then start to drive optimization from there.
With SaaS spending being accelerated here, do you see the need to help control costs?
Absolutely. I think today we're in a year where right now software and software as a service is a way to make employees more successful in their jobs, which right now I think is the most important thing to do. But the adoption is happening so quickly that it could very quickly get out of control because the subscription model is all about expansion year over year of it getting drive usage up. So watching it closely and monitoring it, I think it's got to be one of your primary job if you're a CIO or if you're managing IT costs.
So monitoring is one piece, and you have the right platform or pane of glass to do that and the right software to do that at Zylo. Do you help the clients as well do the analysis and roll it up into a strategic point of view or a strategic presentation back to the business or the CEO or the CFO?
Yeah, absolutely. We really provide two things. Zylo provides both the technology. So we have an AI that looks at how the products are being used and gives you alerts on what to do with it. So if it's going unused, alerting you or the employee to give a license back or take a license back and give it to someone else. And then also we have experts as well that sit and coach you on what kind of recommendations and things like that you might want to make to optimize your software environment.
What do you find the biggest challenge for you being the co-founder and CEO in the company as you've grown probably really fast? What are your biggest challenges?
Our challenges are like most companies, we're adjusting to this world of being 100% remote. Our company was in an office for the most part. We had some remote employees, but shifting entirely, to being virtual and having business communications and business processes set up so we can still deliver a great customer experience is very similar. So I think that for me has been one challenge. And then in particular, when you're navigating a industry that's changing so quickly on top of it, it just makes that's also been something where we've had to really innovate and move really fast to build software to meet up with the needs of where CIOs are going right now.
And what kind of leadership style have you developed used during the pandemic?
Probably the biggest word is that I use a lot is just empathy and maybe patience. Both for employees, customers, myself, and I think just trying to, make sure that I'm leading with that, to make sure that we're making employees successful and deal with stress and all the other challenges that are happening in the world right now.
So why would somebody not have something like Zylo in place right now in their current enterprise roadmap and architecture?
I think a lot of companies are just now starting to wake up to the fact that software is becoming just such a large and growing expense. It took a lot of time for companies to get systems in place for a variety of things. Like, I think of marketing tech, there was, you didn't know you needed an email marketing system until there was a day where, that became a vital, important thing. And I think we're in the early days for CIOs, IT leaders to look at employee productivity software and things that are making employees more successful. I think now it's just now becoming, a little bit more mainstream or known to the organization.
So what does the future of SaaS management look like to you?
Yeah, the future of SaaS management, really is giving the power of software management to the employee, making, really every employee kind of act and think like a CIO, making sure that they're buying technology safely and think of a distributed management environment across the organization.
So when you think about that final click down, what's unique about Zylo? What do you bring to the enterprise, the CIO, CTO, and the whole enterprise?
Yeah, the thing that made us really unique is for the first time we've given IT, finance, and really the business a unified view of all software across the business in one place. And that's something we've been able to invested a lot in our AI technology to find software and be able to surface all that information to the top so you can drive action.
And clients cross industry, small, medium, and large?
We really focus on companies that are mid to large. Think of emerging enterprises, companies that are in the 1,000 employee range, all the way to companies that are in the Fortune 500.
And some big logos, I would imagine.
Yeah, we have companies like Nike, Adobe, Atlassian, Slack. So it really crosses the gamut of companies. But the one thing in common is that they all have a lot of SaaS that they need to manage.
Oh, sure, man. You must be busy. Hey, Eric, how can someone get started with you all?
Come to our website, Zylo.com, and sign up for a demo, or you can follow us at Get Zylo on Twitter.
Awesome. Hey, Eric, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on the program as well. Great. And looking forward to following up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you, Hunter.
Great.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Next up, we have Reimagining the Business and the Future of Work, our rockstar panel. If our panelists can turn their cameras on, that would be awesome. And why don't we start with Jennifer Wesson Greenman. Jennifer is with the CIO at the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Jennifer, hey, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, my pleasure, Hunter. Nice to see you again.
It's always good to see you. You know, what's on your mind today about this notion of reimagination of the business and the future of work? You guys, a little bit about your organization and your role, and then what's on your mind on this specific topic?
Sure. Well, in my role, I lead enterprise technology services for a national network of hospitals and clinics. So we have hospitals and clinics located across the country. We are exclusively focused on delivering compassionate, patient-centered cancer care. And it's a very, very strong and dear mission to all of us who work at CTCA. So in terms of thinking about the future of work, you know, we have to think of it in healthcare as really both how do we support our workforce in working very, you know, in a very digitally enabled collaborative environment, but we also have to think about how do we connect our patients and actually deliver care and treatment effectively to them in any setting. So, you know, wherever we can best meet their needs, both medically, but also from a personal preference. And so, you know, as I think towards the future, I think about, you know, for us, you know, it's sort of the obvious point, right? Because we're on a virtual presentation right now, but for us, the standard now, not an exception, but the standard for communication, for collaboration, for care delivery will be virtual. And so this is something we have to embrace. I think it's actually something that as CIOs we're very comfortable embracing, but we also have an incredible responsibility in that. So how do we empower a very digitally dexterous workforce and in my case, patient community? And so we have to capitalize on this success so we can continue to build upon digital momentum in our industry.
Very great. Awesome perspective, Jennifer. When you think of the trends that are most impactful today in terms of transformation on the business, both near and long term, what are the trends that are on your mind?
Sure. Well, some particular trends that I would follow close, I think it's important for us to embrace. From a technology point of view, I'll start there. I think establishing a competency in customer experience, automation, and artificial intelligence are all areas that I would be really focusing on and treating as a priority for the future. You know, the reason I would highlight those areas, although there's certainly many options, many functions, many technologies that we should be looking for, but these are the things that will help us grow responsibly, but also at a scale in the future that we will need to thrive in this radically different business environment. I think, you know, speaking of health, artificial intelligence in particular, I see that as playing a very large role in augmenting, not replacing, but augmenting how our experts in medicine can actually make treatment decisions. We're already seeing some very exciting advancements in this area, particularly in the imaging space. Things like imaging-enabled, radiology-enabled artificial intelligence that can potentially help detect disease, but also guide therapeutic decisions in areas like oncology. But we'll also see in discovery, you know, really all the time we're seeing AI driving transformative, unprecedented scientific advancements to understand things like the molecular basis of diseases and novel treatments for those diseases. Also on a more practical level, we can see AI driving vast improvements in operational efficiencies. So back office operations like billing and coding. And this is important for us, again, not just as an industry, but really as a nation, because we have to reduce waste in our delivery system and also accelerate time to value for all care participants. One final note I'll make is on the culture side, and I would say the culture is probably the even more important part of this. As CIOs, we have to set the standard in our organizations by establishing a digital operating model and a governance model that is flexible and responsive to our customers' needs in the future. So these would be things, like how do we organize as a department? How do we, many of us, I would say, at least in my industry, sort of, grew up in a org structure that was sort of siloed by technology domain. We have to shift that mindset and really move toward more of a product-oriented operating model, embrace philosophies like DevOps, but also invest in modernized technology infrastructures that will give us a strong foundation for success into any future business scenario.
Love it. Really well said. Stay with us, Jennifer. I'll circle back to you in just a minute. Next up, we have Phil Richards. Phil is the CISO at Ivanti, a great partner of ours. Phil, always good to see you.
Thanks, Hunter. Good to see you too.
Hey, when you think of your space in the industry and how you're helping keep your clients safe and secure, what's on your mind?
Well, there's an awful lot of things going on right now from a security perspective, especially with the pandemic taking place right now. It just kind of brings to the forefront new challenges or different challenges. I think so many organizations are working from home. They're spending huge amounts of time devising ways to have jobs that used to be done in an office, making them a work from home kind of a situation, and so they're enabling people to be able to work from home. This brings all kinds of technology challenges and all kinds of security challenges into those environments. Everything from making sure that it's actually your employees that are logging in from a remote workplace to making sure that you have adequate capacity. And one of the things that I know a lot of our CIOs are struggling with right now is home-based bandwidth is becoming more and more of an issue, where individuals are struggling to make sure they have adequate capacity on their own connection, which is a problem that the CIOs typically have not had to deal with. Now all of a sudden that's becoming an integral part of their role. We're seeing things such as offices. We're getting so much better at knowing now what jobs can be performed remotely, and so that's allowing business executives to take a new look at office sizing and hoteling of offices and cubicles and things like that. And all of these things are just kind of adding additional opportunities and growth strategies and mechanisms to an environment. And they're also bringing all kinds of additional IT challenges and security challenges, and quite frankly, just standard work challenges, I suppose.
And what's unique about Ivanti? What do you folks do that our audience should be aware of today?
Well, at Ivanti, we really focus on trying to streamline the IT experience for our organization. So everything from service management through endpoint management and trying to make sure that those IT assets are performing the way they're supposed to, that they get patched when they're supposed to be patched, and that CIOs especially have a handle on how those assets are performing, where they're located, what they're doing, and are they being strategically deployed to the right places and things like that. All of those capabilities are part of what the Ivanti story is all about.
Excellent. Hey, Phil, stay with us. I'll circle back to you in just a minute. Next up is David Bernert. David's the Vice President and Digital Enterprise and Analytics Organization within the Boeing Company.
Yeah, good afternoon, Hunter.
Hey, great to see you. The last time we were together, we were in Seattle, I think at the hotel at the summit. Good to see you on Zoom.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Tell me what's new at Boeing, and you're busy.
Well, we are facing into essentially the most aggressive business and market climate that the company has ever faced into. So if you can imagine, essentially 97% of our market evaporating in about 6 weeks on the commercial side, with worldwide travel going to about 2% of capacity. And thus most of our clients really struggling to meet their affordability with no clients on their side. So, and pretty aggressive other issues facing into Boeing and some of our product shipment areas. So it's an exciting time really to figure out how to address and face into the markets.
Hey, but Dave, you have some really good news lately. I've seen things are opening up. You guys are getting back up in the air. You're getting your approvals.
Yeah.
The news feed is totally swung the other way. The stock's back up. Things seem to be clicking and moving in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I think we're facing into the issues with, what you would expect from a $100 billion company, or was a $100 billion company. But we still have lost about $35 billion of top line in the last year. And so really facing into that, and that's where IT and digital transformation is really paying large dividends to us. Very similar experiences and roles to what Jennifer described.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the digital agenda that you're helping drive?
Yeah, I would love to. So, essentially we are rewriting the work instructions for the entire company in a digital format. So we're about 4 years into it. We're running 450 balanced teams against it and about 2,000 contractors. And the sense of urgency that we have is ever increasing, because the benefit values of rewriting the work instructions and delivering digital capabilities to our business unit has a huge advantage to us. If you look at the Boeing Company, we're an engineering-based company, and our product life cycles are long. We have products that have 100-year life cycles. It may take us 7 to 8 years to develop a product and bring it to market. So we're developing product that we won't ship until 2035. And so to be able to have that digitally, where you can virtualize a product against future materials that aren't invented yet, run characteristics and simulation, the ability to change the experience of any of our business users is just had huge impact. We've been able to take literally billions of dollars of cost structures out, which is incredibly needed right now with the market conditions that we face into.
Stay with us, Dave. I'll circle back to you in just a minute. Hey, Ralph, following up with you, when you think about everyone's talking about returning to work and whatever that's going to look like, this new hybrid environment, what's on your mind there?
Well, it's interesting. I think I certainly expect a hybrid model, right? We all do, but kind of what does that mean? So back to my comments earlier, I think, okay, how do I think about hybrid, and what does that mean to the company, and what can IT do about that? And I think of a couple of big things that I think we haven't thought through yet and maybe are in a position to help. So one, obviously zero trust, right? Zero trust times 10,000. Right? We've got this, each of us have an environment where we went from maybe dozens of locations to thousands of locations, essentially everybody's home, that we have risk and need to protect. Some things I think some people haven't talked about yet that I've been worried about in the context of like I remember when we first went to virtual servers, right? You had to worry about the P to V or V to P, physical to virtual transformation or virtual to physical. I think we have the same issue now, not just for hardware or software, but for wetware, right? We have people that are going from virtual to physical and physical to virtual, and some that are now mixed. So how does IT start thinking, applying some of the techniques we've used to manage that transformation of other parts of the process and the system, and how can we help HR departments and our organizations at large with this physical to virtual and virtual to physical challenge and this is not just virtual happy hours and mirror and whiteboarding tools, right? This is a really different way to think about collaborating, engaging people. I like what Trevor said earlier about kind of these different kinds of systems of experience. The other thing is, I think, expect IT to be involved in monitoring and managing remote workers differently. So you've heard the term catfishing, right? It's just someone pretending to be something they're not on the internet. I went back, and it was July of 2013, where Verizon was called in to do an audit from a security perspective on an unnamed company. They still haven't disclosed. And what they found was this weird behavior of how he was logging in. Turns out the guy was a programmer with over 20 years of experience, and he'd essentially outsourced his job to 3 different people, 2 in China and 1 in India. And so they were looking at VPN logs going, this is weird. It turns out he was one of the highest rated, the code was high quality. He was one of the highest rated programmers in the company he was in, but essentially he was, he was sitting home looking at cat videos, and he'd outsourced, the job would come in, he would just send it to one of his third parties and they would do the work. Okay, now we live in this virtual, is IT going to play a role in essentially ensuring company employees aren't doing something akin to corporate catfishing of their job? And sort of how do we look at that? And then kind of last thought in this space is, if you haven't personally reevaluated and rebuilt your talent strategy for the IT organization, you need to start on it today. This is the shift in how you build an org, how you think about location and talent and development is akin to what iPhone and iPad did to user expectations around the consumerization of IT. And you don't want to end up being Ed Zander of Motorola or Steve Ballmer of Microsoft saying, this is not a big deal, the iPhone's just a toy, it's not real big. I think the shift to hybrid is meaningful, and I don't know that we've actually thought through what it means yet, but we should be doing that right now.
Excellent. Thanks, Ralph. Stay right with us. I'll get back to you in a minute. Let's go over to Wolfgang Gorlich. He's the advisory CISO at Duo Security. Hey, Wolfgang, welcome to the program.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good to see you. We think about security enabling business rather than being seen as an obstacle in re-envisioning and reimagining work. How do you see that?
Yeah, I think as we talk through some of the topics that the panelists have already brought up, this shift from physical to virtual, supporting and focusing in on the mission of the organization. I think it's fundamental to the role of the CISO, the role of security, that we move beyond this idea that we are securing the asset, right? We are hardening the technology, we're patching, we're making sure that no one can get to it. What we have to be doing today is securing productivity. And that may mean moving away from a hard and fast rule, which is the bread and butter of the CISO, towards being more introspective in terms of which security controls we can reduce, or which security controls we can simplify, and how we can collaborate with the CIO to enable this change in work and to enable what's coming next.
It's been, what a disruption we've had, right? In this whole work from anywhere environment. And where did you see the stressors in terms of the increased threat landscape, and how does Duo Security help there?
Yeah, well, a number of different ways. For one, if you think about BYOD, it used to be device singular. and that was a little bit tricky enough in and of itself. But we've seen a drastic increase when people are working from home in terms of how many devices they're using to access. Just the other day, I was having a meeting and I looked up, I'm like, are you in a nursery? They're like, yeah, I'm on my daughter's tablet. It's fine. She's taking a break. And I love that flexibility, but that can be a little bit unnerving, right? Because do we have controls over that tablet? Is that tablet encrypted? How are we protecting that? You get the idea. I think it's one, a great increase of devices. Two, the fact that we're all trying to get things done as meant. Increase in IT consumption was already touched on. And you pick up your credit card, you provision whatever service you need, and you go. So we would need to make sure that we're tackling both increased technology and increased services. And then three, every time there's a bad time, that's a good time for a criminal, right? Criminals take advantage of those things. So we've seen an uptick in phishing. We've seen an uptick in device compromise. We've seen an uptick in crypto mining, in addition to ransomware, which makes the news pretty much every week. So we've got a greater degree of technology than ever to secure and harden. And we've got a greater increase in people targeting it. So the way to go about that is strong authentication, device insights, that zero trust approach, that conditional and contextual controls that we can wrap around this growing technology footprint.
Thanks, Wolfgang. Great job. Hey, Jennifer, back to you. Kicking it up a notch here. Let's get strategic, right? Culture matters, people matter. you're redefining your whole organization during this pivot, or let's call it acceleration through this crisis, your own IT organization, being able to talk to and facilitate and storytell and deliver a strategic context or strategic discussion with the C-suite and the board and the line of business is really important. Do you want to share a little bit on your thoughts in that space?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think that there's different types of approaches we have to take, depending on the stakeholder group that we're working with. So certainly the conversation you're having with your board or your colleagues in the C-suite is going to be very different than what you have with your workforce. It's all important though. I mean, we, particularly with our workforce, I think as we talk about strategic execution, those are the folks that we need 100% behind us to be successful. So I think as CIOs, it's incumbent upon us to foster an understanding and acceptance, and most importantly, fully embrace our strategic vision. And that's my role as a CIO, to make sure that I involve my teams in helping to frame that strategic analysis and that planning. No less important, certainly, in fact, absolutely still very critical to foster that same level of understanding and commitment from the board and from our C-suite, C-level leaders. But what I think that, we often find, speaking of the workforce in particular, I've observed that, even though I may think that I'm doing a great job of communicating and engaging my teams, I find sometimes they're not always feeling as engaged, and that type of disengagement, as probably everyone on this panel knows, can lead to all kinds of, counterproductive behaviors in the workforce. So, we have to step up our game as CIOs to be very deliberate and intentional in how we engage our teams to both define the vision, but also to help execute on that. That's going to be critical, no less critical going forward as it ever has been for us. I would say also, listening is, again, going to continue to be a critically important leadership skill. Is often our teams and our colleagues across the organization that notice the signals, that the market and organizational signals, I'll say, that require us to shift approaches. And again, those shifts, at one point we used to do 5-year strategic plans, and now it feels like it's like a every month strategic plan that we have to do. But we have to be able to shift. We have to be very adaptive to those changes, but also hear the signals that are leading to those changes in strategic execution, and make sure that we have channels in which we can both receive, but also disseminate that information. Final note, I'll say, back to sort of fundamentals, it's always the why. We always have to, it's so simple, but yet it's something that we also often critically miss, is the why of what we're doing. Why do we have a certain strategic vision? Why do we need to follow that? And again, it's something that I think, as a leader, I like to think I do very effectively, but what I find often is that cascade of communications that happens doesn't always, carry that message quite as effectively. So we have to, again, reinforce, particularly in this virtual environment that we're working in today, we have to reinforce those principles of clear communication, but also reinforcing constantly why we're trying to achieve what we are doing. And when we do have to shift, why we're making that shift. Those to me are, certainly very basic but important leadership principles that we have to continue to follow.
Thank you, Jennifer. And the skills that you're looking for now, new skills, what are they?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be a need for certain deep technology skills, no question about it. But what I would say, when you look at more of the dimensions of, business acumen or even development and learning, I think we are always looking for people who embrace learning, growth, but probably now more than ever, uncertainty and change. And if we don't have that in our workforce today, something that we really have to focus on cultivating. And that, of course, that last piece is the most difficult because, as humans, we tend to crave predictability and stability in our lives. But as we've learned in the last year, nothing in life seems to be predictable anymore. And so we have to learn how to respond. We have to learn what we can control, what we can't control, and learn how we can respond constructively to those circumstances. What I would say is, I don't know that there's always a possibility of identifying those traits in a talent selection process, although I know that there are some, proven methods. But what I do know I can model those traits as a leader, and I can continuously engage my workforce in a very transparent way to help them, again, understand why these types of shifts are important for us for, future growth and even really survival in the business environment.
Well said. Thanks so much. Hey, Phil, when you think about the same topic about communicating a strategic vision to the line of business and the C-suite, what comes to mind for you?
Well, a couple of different things. One of the things I think that has really been a positive out of the work from home components here, as part of this pandemic, is the definition of, or the importance of FaceTime has really changed, and it's become a lot less important. What that really means is that the definition of accomplishment has enhanced, has changed quite a bit. As leaders, I think it's incumbent upon us to help our organization kind of foster that and really kind of get a hold of that by restructuring the work products so that they're a little bit more outcome based, so that our strategies are focused on positive results, positive outcomes, rather than spending time at a task or something like that. And part of what that means is to actually reorient your processes so that you're highlighting those outcomes and the desired impact of work, rather than the laborious kind of the task structure of that. The interesting thing is that becomes a challenge, I think, for a lot of our employees, and we need to help train and organize employees so that they are better able to kind of process the fact that they're not responsible for a task. They're not responsible for typing. They're responsible for an impact and an outcome. And that's a different kind of an orientation. I think it goes all the way down into schooling and universities. We need to try to help arm employees so that they're better able to attack that kind of, the workforce in a different way than they maybe have been in the past.
Thanks, Bill. Good job. Hey, Ralph, when I think about you, I think about you as a strategic leader in the business, and very good at working and building rapport with and trust with the C-suite. Share some tips. How do you do that?
Well, one is FaceTime. Spend time with them. Speak with them. Understand their needs. So I spend probably 20% of my time with my CEO and his direct reports. And if you aren't doing that, if you don't feel their pain, understand their problems, understand what keeps them up at night, then you're not doing it right. And so I go to all the quarterly, we do sales reviews. I'm spending a lot of time in detail understanding what's working, what's not working for customers, what products are working, what our challenges are with the finance team. So you've got to be, to some degree, kind of a counselor that understands everybody's problems. So you can go back to your org and try to help translate ways to solve that, ways to help with those problems.
So you're really out there in the marketplace with them, really understanding what your customers do and don't like about your products.
Absolutely. And I spend, while I own an operational responsibility with IT, I spend a lot of time with our head of corporate strategy, understanding what's coming, what's the demand in the market look like, what technology changes are occurring that may or may not affect our company, looking at our M&A landscape, looking at a lot of other things. So, my role isn't just kind of keeping the computers running, as it were. It's playing a broader role across the leadership team as a company. And I think whether that's in your remit or not in your job description, everybody who's a technology leader in a company ought to be thinking that way and acting that way. As they say, you should basically be acting in the job you want, and not the one you have. And so constantly be thinking, where can I add value? How can I help?
I love that. Beautiful. Good job. Hey, Dave, over to you. Thinking about your area, it's a pretty broad area. How do you measure progress specifically around DevSecOps or your analytics organization?
Yeah, no, thank you, Hunter. So for us, it's about the outcomes associated with our products. So for example, our analytics products, we have so much demand internally, and they're focused on such aggressive return rates that we actually have to compete the products for the business service creation. So we'll go in with a wireframe, essentially what is the outcome and how does it compete. So we're always running our agile cut lines and progressing backlog for the highest rate of return. What that helps us with is really staying as close to the functions and programs as possible in getting the best rate of return. So every analytics product that we deploy, we typically get about a 10x return on it. whether it's a short-term or long-term products. Our targets are roughly about $700 million a yield a year out of analytics. So, and that's analytics applied to our customers and then also to in-house products and features. We've done the same with DevSecOps. We've taken DevSecOps and put it into a production model. It's no different than one of our factory floors. And that allows us to run simulations to optimize the products that we have delivering DevSecOps in a model-based way. So we're able to do simulations, optimizations over and over, and then take advantage of massive reuse. So just like building an airplane, we look at our code structures. Can we reuse this AI? Do we know where it is? Where was it trained? What was the training outcome of that particular algorithm? Can you apply it to a factory floor? Can you reapply it to a DevSecOps digital factory? So that's kind of been how we do and measure our product outcomes.
Excellent. Thanks for coming on the program today. Great to see you too, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Wolfgang, over to you. Kind of final comment around when you think of usability versus security, how do you justify both?
Yeah, it's a really good question, especially coming on the heels of David's comments around DevOps, right? Back to what I was saying earlier, what are we protecting? We're not protecting the technology anymore. We're protecting the business outcomes. We're protecting productivity. And I think there is a real opportunity for us to map out the process that our business units are following, whether it's someone on the hospital floor or someone on the factory floor or someone who's writing code. Map that process out, and at the same time, threat model and map out the process the adversaries are taking. And when you do that, we can start to figure out which controls we can put into place that stop the criminals, that have a disproportionately low effect on users. That could be things like multi-factor, certainly, but it could also be things simply like providing a secure by default environment that the folks who are building don't even need to think about it, but yet the criminals who are trying to attack it are immediately stopped. So I think it's mapping out both usability and defensibility and adding controls in place where it stops the attackers but gets out of the way of our users.
Hey, Wolfgang, exciting time to be in our industry right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Good to have you in the program. How can people get in touch with you or Duo Security?
So dual.com, or my email address is wolf@dual.com.
Great. Thanks so much for coming on the show and supporting the conference. Jennifer, when you think about today's environment we're leading in, best time ever to be in your role, and would you trade it for anything?
Not at all.
And why?
Why? Well, because I think that we have a unique and unprecedented transformational opportunity, and across probably all industries. I can certainly speak for healthcare. We are now recognized in a way as much more than just the leader of the computer department, as I think one of my colleagues here said, but actually as business leaders driving transformation in the enterprise. And so I think it's very exciting, and I'm thrilled to be in this role.
Great to see you, Jennifer. You look great, sound great. Thanks so much for being on the program. Appreciate your support. Hey, Ralph, best time ever to be in our industry. And if you're not a little over your skis and a little anxious, are you doing your job right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, what's cool is so many things have changed in the last 6 months. What AR and VR was a toy that people used to play games. Now it's a long-range differentiator in a lot of our corporate strategies around maintaining connectiveness in a hybrid world. IoT and 5G were kind of emerging tech. Now they're kind of foundational to a lot of people's edge strategy and how they're going to connect and engage this sort of new digital landscape that they are building out. And I was worried before about securing corporate systems and devices and so on. Now I'm worried about securing, 5x more of that: cameras, AR, VR, home users, IoT. Like, how do I get in front of that? So to me, the landscape keeps shifting. The tools we have to work with are more and more exciting, and the challenges keep on rolling. So it's a great time to be a tech leader.
Thanks, Ralph, for coming on, and thanks for your support. Great job. Hey, Phil, final comment?
Well, I completely agree that it is a fantastic time to be in this industry. Right now, we're on the precipice of so much change, foundational change, really, in the way that work gets done, and the way that activities are accomplished within all of our environments. And I think that drives a great amount of creativity and a great amount of job satisfaction in this particular industry, because we're doing things that we didn't think about doing 6 months ago. Like Ralph mentioned, it's just different, and that creativity, I think, kind of really allows us to get excited about coming to work every day.
Hey, Phil, Wolfgang, Dave, Jennifer, Ralph, really appreciate your coming on the program today. Really appreciate your support. Guys, stay connected. Hopefully you can stay on to the end of the summit, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy with your families and friends, and safe travels.
Thanks, Hunter.
Thanks. Next up, we have Crisis in Career, Preparing for the Next Opportunity. Beverly Lieberman, my good friend, will be leading this session with David Morris and Kathryn Ullrich. Bev, you there?
Hi, Hunter. I'm here.
Take it away.
Good to be here. Well, it's good to be here with my colleagues, David Morris and Kathryn Ullrich. How about a little introduction by you two? Kathryn, can you tell us a little bit about your role in your organization?
So Odgers Berndtson is one of the global large executive search firms. So we work in the C-suite, and I do a lot of CIO searches. I've been in executive search for 23 years here in Silicon Valley.
Thank you. And you also run the diversity practice?
I should add that I'm head of US diversity. I'm an engineer myself and grew up in technology. So I've been passionate about helping women, as the starting point, but all diverse candidates with their career advancement. So I've been doing diversity searches before it was popular, starting about 18, 20 years ago. And so I think what we've done at our search firm is really worked on how do we increase not just the diversity pipeline, but how do we reduce the unconscious bias to get more of those candidates through? So I can talk through some of those things. I'm sure diversity is important to a lot of you as leaders right now.
Thank you. David.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nice to meet everyone. Yeah. So I'm the founder of Hyper Solutions. We're based in San Francisco, and we're leading a space in what we call change leadership. So when a CEO or a board or a governor on our government side of the business is looking to drive a big change effort, we work with them as essentially the general contractor to make sure they have the right change leader, and that team is constructed properly and can work well together in a remote world and align well with the stakeholders. So it's all around the people side of massive transformations. We're working on a huge homelessness initiative in California right now, large semiconductor transformation across multiple countries. So wherever there's a number of people that have to come together to make a major change effort happen, we're working with the executive sponsor to make sure it's all coordinated.
Great, thank you. And for those of you that don't know me, I run an executive search practice out of Westport, Connecticut. We are a national search firm. We, like Kathryn, we specialize in the C-suite. I do a lot of CIO searches, but also CISO searches. And I also run an executive coaching business. So we're all in that executive recruitment space, it sounds like. So our topic is, getting positioned as senior IT leaders, what it takes to get positioned for the next opportunity. So assuming many in our audience are already at the director, perhaps VP level, we'd like to talk about what it takes to, at least get yourself ready for that next opportunity. For some, that might be a bigger CIO role. It could be a board position. So I'd like to start with you, David. You mentioned that You do a lot of work for organizations that need transformational leaders. So tell us, what constitutes a good transformational leader? What does it take? What do your employers, your clients look for when they want to hire someone with that skill set?
Yeah, well, we go to the analogy of Hollywood quite a bit on this leadership topic. And we look at two specific roles. And we find that it's very applicable to CIOs, because a lot of the CIOs we work with seem to fit into one or the other. The important thing, though, is not to try to play both roles, because in Hollywood they don't. And that is the producer and the director. The producer is the mastermind. They're the deal structurer. They're usually the one that is going to come up with kind of the compilation. They'll see the idea. They'll understand some of the people who need to be involved, and then they're going to bring it to the studio. They're going to bring it to the CEO or the board. So if you're a CIO and you can see it in your mind, you can see how to bring the pieces together so that, digital can not just enable the business, but drive it in a whole new way. You might be the producer, the big picture. And that person's going to be very good with interpersonal skills, because they're going to have to sell the ideas. They're going to be a talent magnet. They're ultimately the mastermind. Okay. But if that doesn't resonate with you, if that feels like a stretch, no need to go for it. You can do just as well in the director role. In fact, sometimes the director role makes more money than the producer role. And the director role is somebody that is going to manage the details of the project. They're going to build the team, run the meetings, and the sense of urgency. I think that's really the key thing, Bev, is how do you actually overcome the obstacles and be able to deliver on time, on budget. And that is really what a great director does. My advice is figure out which one you are and make sure you have a counterpart. Make sure that you have that complementary leader with you, because ultimately, if you have a director-producer pair, your value goes up tenfold to the organization. And even if you get recruited to a new company, really make sure there's an understanding that your partner can join you.
Great, thank you. Kathryn, we're still going through a crisis, a pandemic. We have IT organizations that have had to rally and pivot very quickly to support remote workers without service interruption. It's been very, very trying. What insights do you have for our audience that will help them think about themselves in terms of their own careers and what you've learned, what we're learning in the crisis leadership that employers will be looking for?
Let me step back and kind of share with you around that. Right in March, coincidentally, we launched a report on disruption, leadership during disruption. And the things that came out, think about it. We did this survey, and the disruption up until that point was disruption in technology, advances in technology. But now the disruptions have changed. So we went back out and surveyed, and instead of advances in technology, it's leaders that are dealing with resetting their strategy. They're the evolving business models. It's the changing customer expectations and greater collaboration across this leader base. And what we found in the study was that only pre-COVID, before we got to COVID and all the changes going on right now, only 15% of companies thought they had the leaders in place to handle disruption. And the top companies that could handle disruption, what the leaders had, and it was a combination of a lot of different things. It was the right values, it was the right mindset, and then the required skills behind it, the ability to drive change, and this ability to attract and retain the right talent. And so I think as you're looking today, It's how do you do that reset? How do you do the transformation? And the values and mindsets and skills that help you drive that transformation. So that's the biggest thing right now is, you know, thinking at that level.
Great, thank you. David, when a CIO perhaps is interviewing for a new opportunity and she or he wants to be sure that the company that they're going to consider working for is really committed to doing transformational work, how does a candidate figure that out? What kinds of probing questions or whatever do they do to ensure that that's really the case?
It's a great question, and it reminds me of a technique that we've counseled candidates in called the reverse interview. And you know, it also makes it a little more fun and kind of you know, changes things up. Which is, you know, there's this book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life? Great book. And going in there, I think it really all, Bev, has to do with the questions. It's really just the questions you're asking along the way. And it would be behavioral-based interviewing where, you know, you'd really ask the, you know, hiring manager, the CEO, the board, whoever you're meeting with is, you know, talk to me about the last major change effort that happened here. You know, who ran it? What obstacles do they have? Where was the air cover? What were the issues? And number one, see how they embrace the questions. See if they sort of freeze up and they really lean in on it. What I will say is air cover is a term we use a lot. And, you know, that's an easier box to check in the interview process. You know, that's, you know, is your boss going to provide you the air cover? But does your boss have the cover? And even if your boss is the CEO, do they really call the shots? Or is there a founder still involved? Or is there a lead board member? So you really want to make sure, number one, that there's true air cover, that your air cover has air cover. And then the second piece of it was interesting. One of our clients had mentioned that although she got recruited into a CIO role with all the air cover above, she had problems with her peers. She had problems with the CFO and a couple other functions, which you sound familiar probably, is, you know, really ultimately blocked her success. So I would probe on that side as well. And that is, you know, what's the you know, the lateral obstacles that previous transformations had and how they overcame them, and speak to those people too in the interview process. I actually think the better the questions, assuming they're a sophisticated hiring manager, they're going to just respect you that much more, and you can command a higher price tag as a result of the diligence they see you doing.
Thanks, David. Kathryn, you mentioned that you head up diversity for your firm. What can you tell us about the climate for diversity candidates? At least I'm seeing a demand from almost every client now that I produce a slate of candidates that has a good representation of diversity. What are you seeing, and how are you advising your clients on doing the best job they can in screening and assessing and evaluating diversity candidates? Is there any difference in the way they are handling this compared to?
So I would say that I think we've all learned that diversity is important because we get better business results from it. It's the cognitive diversity that brings better solutions. And what clients are asking for is they want an IT staff that looks like their employee base, that looks like their customer base, that can do the problem solving around this. The one thing that we've learned about doing diversity searches, you have to start with the pipeline of diverse candidates. But then in addition to that, it's really making sure you're getting the best candidate. I often get asked, well, do we have to, you know, broaden our spec or reduce our standards because we're looking at diversity? And the answer is no, you don't. It's all about getting the best candidate. But what we're trying to do is remove the unconscious biases that we have. The bias training will tell you if we have a brain, we have bias. It's how our brain has shortcuts to make decisions. And you'll hear some of them like, you'll hear stereotypes. It'll be things like confirmation bias or affinity bias. This person is like me, therefore I like the person. And what we're trying to do is, instead of evaluating by who you like, it is evaluating around the competencies and who has the best experience and will do the best job at that. So what we recommend is you start with that list of competencies. You know, every job spec is written around competencies. So it's around those skills and experiences, both hard skills as well as the soft skills of what you're looking for in the job. And then making sure that the interviewing is around those competencies, not, well, I like this person, or, oh, you like that person, well, so do I, a group think that might happen. And what happens with those diverse candidates often is that list of competencies changes. So a diverse candidate has a higher bar that they have to measure up to, or a candidate is evaluated differently around the same bar. And so we've run into where, for one of my candidates, it was, you know, needs to have a Rolodex of CEOs at tier 1 banks. But you know, this was, sorry, for a general manager, but the same thing would be true for CIO, has a Rolodex of. But the real competency on our list was, it was really just being able to talk to the executive presence, to talk to them. It wasn't having a Rolodex, that was a sales role. But this competency was added for this candidate, you know, because all of a sudden now they don't fit. I've also had candidates, diverse candidates, that'll come along and say, I've got 5 direct reports. And I go, time out, how many people are on each of their teams? 10. How many contractors? 50. And a diverse candidate led a team of 100 people, but she led with 5. She had 5 direct reports. So it's making sure you're evaluating the candidates fairly on that same set of competencies so that you're getting the best candidate.
Absolutely, that's great. I always think about people that are career-minded need to be thinking in terms of developing their own personal brand. And if you, David and Kathryn, agree, what are some of the activities, what are some of the things that a person should be doing to build this brand that will help them get to that next step? David, some thoughts?
Well, needless to say, participating with HMG.
There you go. That's high on everybody's list, right? Should be.
You know, it's interesting. There's a term we go back to, and that is influencer. And influencer is an interesting term. You know, there's people who literally are just influencers. I was, you know, now this person recently, they said they're just a professional influencer. They have a few 100,000 followers, and you know, they monetize it in different ways. I would start with the end in mind. I would say, you know, brand for what purpose? You know, brand for what purpose? You know, if it's a Tiffany's jewelry or something, you know, it's for a price premium. You know, if it's a celebrity, it may be, you know, how do they make money? If they're movie stars, it's based on how much they make per movie or whatever it may be. So I would sort of start with, because otherwise I think it's a little bit of a wild goose chase in terms of, well, you know, if you just want followers on LinkedIn, you can buy that. There's literally ways to just like get your numbers up. Some of these people with like a few 100,000 followers, they literally bought it. You can just buy your followers, you know, so just sort of say, well, what's actually important? And what I would say on the influencer front is what kind of influencer do you want to be? And therefore, what kind of followership do you need? I think for most executives, the key is being a talent magnet. That's the most important thing. I mean, if you can go into a new role and bring a team with you, hugely valuable, especially if you're doing transformation, because you got to move so quickly. So anything you can do to help people, career guidance to them, helping them get on boards. You get a call from a recruiter, the role's not right for you. Mark Egan's a great example of this. Early days of my search career, I used to reach out to Mark. I didn't even know what a CIO was 20 years ago. And he would spend the time and educate me. And then, I hope to be able to help Mark then over time on things when he asks me. So I think it's a concept of who do you want to spend time with and invest in, and what constituency you want to be an influencer for. But the most important one is to be the talent magnet. So anything you can do to help those around you that can ultimately be recruitable.
Thank you. Kathryn, your comments on this?
Yeah, so I'll add to it. And I do agree with the personal brand. And I think it stems from exactly what David said about knowing what you want to be, what your personal brand is about, what's important in industry. For this audience, is it a CIO that's good at a technology? Maybe it's AI, machine learning, analytics, maybe it's information security, and some subsegment of cybersecurity. I don't know what it is. The other part David brought up, you're the straight man here, David, was find opportunities to speak on it here at HMG or write on it, and make sure your brand is going along with it. I'll add to what David said about the talent side of it, though. I think that's important. Every search we get into, it's how do you attract and then retain that talent? But the other parts of it are, you could have a brand that is, I'm really good at technology visioning. I'm really good at transformation. I'm really good at turning around and making it an efficient operation. Maybe with COVID, it's this work from home is important for everyone. Maybe it's just the politics of a large organization and stakeholder relations. So even within, not on the technical side of it, but on these kind of the leadership or the softer side, there may be parts that are important. And it's understanding what environment you're good at and then making sure people understand it. So all these parts of the personal brand are included, whether it's the hard skills or these soft skills.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thank you.
Great job.
Much. Thank you.
Hey, and Hunter, I just want to give you a shout out to Hunter too. On the topic of brand, Hunter has done so much for all of us here on brand. And I think it's a good example where you have a real interest, Hunter. I mean, you care about people, you care. And, these forums, you've really helped, us become more conscious and aware of the importance of brand and have given guidance. I would just encourage when people speak to Hunter too. He's a very good talent agent. He's very good at giving constructive feedback, very good at it. And getting input from people like Hunter and others, they're going to sometimes know some of the things that we're better at and what we should double down on and therefore build upon with our brand. So thanks, Hunter.
Thanks, Dave. Great to see you. And happy Thanksgiving. Kathryn, always good to see you. Bev, you're always amazing. Great job.
Thank you. Same to you. Have a happy one.
Take care. Be safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next up, we have Gary Gooden. Gary's the Chief Security Officer for Seattle's Children. Gary, good to see you.
Hey, Hunter, how are you doing? Good
Excellent.
to see you. Yeah.
I am excellent. How about yourself today?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Good. Tell me about your passion and love for Seattle, for the Seattle Children's. What's that passion all about?
Well, this is my second stint working in the pediatric space, as it were. And what I find interesting about the space is that the mission is always consistent, irrespective of what your role is in that regard, which is meaning the care and attention to be brought to children who are ill. And if not ill, just children who need help. So it's a cause which I consider to be noble, because they really are our future. So if you can't provide for them now, how can they be really productive and successful later on? So services that we offer, I think, are foundational, not just to Seattle, but to the greater Washington, Alaska, Montana, Idaho region, and also nationally as the largest pediatric health system in the country. Yeah.
And is it across a wide range of conditions?
Oh yes, absolutely. So children's, there are three arms to the the children's health system, which is clinical, of course, which is hospital and or clinics, and or research institute, which is a world-leading research institute. We also have a immunotherapy business as well. So we're a drug manufacturing business, and we provide immunotherapy treatments to sick children in different hospital organizations. So it is vast and broad and deep. Yeah.
When you think about the research that that Children's is doing, what kind of how do you help out with the research?
Well, as the CISO, I'm responsible for the security footprint for the enterprise. And the enterprise, like I said, is a 4-state operation. And that also includes our cyber physical footprint. It has everything to do with protecting the data, protecting employees, non-employees, and patients and their families. It's tied into protecting researchers from, potential scams and social engineering scams that they might have acted upon them from foreign adversaries or foreign countries under the guise of collaboration. So it's a combination of technology, it's a combination of awareness as well.
Who would attack a children's medical center or wellness center? Who would do that? What kind of deranged person would do that?
I don't really think they're deranged. That's the first thing. So bad actors I respect. I have a great deal of respect for them because they're technically extremely good at what they do. It's a lucrative business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and identity theft is a big deal. Social security numbers of juveniles is really important to have. They have high resale value. You tend not to have juveniles having their credit history checked between the ages of 0 and 18, so you have a free ramp. Unfortunately, you also have children who pass away, so those are free identities. So it's just an economic issue, really, at the end of the day.
Oh, so it's an identity grab.
Yes, absolutely. So you can repurpose and sell identities. You can repurpose and sell information and make money. So these are all for-profit entities. Now you do have what they call advanced persistent threat groups of bad actors who are trying to do malicious work, who might be targeting U.S. infrastructure. And you could consider healthcare systems a part of our quote unquote essential infrastructure as well. So.
Interesting. What kind of things keep you up at night? What are you thinking about relative to securing this new threat landscape where people are working from anywhere now?
Well, when we found ourselves in the situation that we're currently still in with COVID, we immediately had to pivot to a remote work environment, as you alluded to. What that meant was the traditional edge was no longer the traditional edge. The edge of your network is now the home, and by extension, the home router. So traditionally, people would connect through virtual desktop environments through Citrix and VDI, or they might have a VPN connection, which is a persistent connection, which is always on, which is not necessarily the best security process to have in place. So what it really did was forced us to accelerate the thinking behind how you should actually look at an environment which heretofore may have been one in which the technology groups responsible for applying technology may have been siloed in their own areas of expertise. And so by extension, it's caused a rethink in terms of how you look at infrastructure. Do you look at infrastructure as being security defined? And if so, if you can do that and look at security from infrastructure from a security defined perspective, what you're really doing or what you will enable ultimately is the ability to actually allow the business to innovate even faster, because they'll be able to take advantage of things that they might not have been able to take advantage of, but within a secure environment, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, complete sense. Gary, how long have you been a CISO now? Decades?
I've been a CISO since 2000, I would say 14, so relatively new. When I was asked to be a CISO, I said to the person who was asking me to be the CISO, I said, well, I'm not a CISO, and I chuckled. And I chuckled because this is an emerging space. And I think you and I had made mention of this in a prior conference that I was in with you. And we truly are the rookies in the C-suite. So from the idea of thinking what the traditional CISO is, I don't think there's any such thing as a traditional CISO. The use of the term traditional as it relates to that role is a misnomer, and it's, I think, completely misplaced. All it really is a technologist who is security tuned and thinks about security in a different way. So that's what we do. We think about security in a different way. Security is everybody's business, whether you're a developer, whether you're a database admin, whether you're a clinician end user, it does not matter. It's a way of thinking wherein which you apply policies and technologies to that way of thinking.
Hey, great stuff, Gary. Thanks for coming on the program today. And we're going to make a donation to Seattle Children's on behalf of you and the HMG network in this summit.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic news. Thank you, Hunter.
Be certain to follow up on that with my team and your contacts.
Absolutely, will do. Will do.
Great. Good to see you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, and be safe and be well.
Yeah, you too. Bye now.
Bye.
Next up, we have the Innovation Accelerator. This is kind of a new model, relatively new model that we have here. It's kind of exciting. Can I ask our panelists to turn on their cameras, please? This is an outgrowth of HMG Ventures and an exciting new project that we're emerging these relatively new companies, relatively new, I'd say. They're CEO founders that really have a passion and a vision for what they're doing. It's going to be a bit of a round robin here for the next 20 to 30 minutes. We're going to kind of look at the different companies and weigh out whether the vision and the leadership, the passion, the USP is solid, the POCs are in place, and we're going to check to see if in effect you have a credible, believable, deliverable delivery. How's that? A good salesperson, good communicator, good storyteller. It's pretty exciting though. I think this is we're early days in this. We've been doing this now for just about 3 to 4 months, this accelerator in each summit. But I think our network, our global platform and network has a burning interest, a real strong desire to learn more about what's happening, innovation on the edge, innovation with truly unique entrepreneurs that have found an open space, a white space, that's something that there's something there that's something different. And by the way, in full disclosure, sometimes HMG Ventures will take an active position in a company. So pretty excited about that. Anyways, on short, would love to get your message out there and get you out there on our platform. So let's first up, Nick Durkin. Nick's the field CTO at Harness.io. Hey, Nick, a little context about Harness.io, your company, who backed it, how big you are, how big you advertise you are, what kind of run rate you're at, running at ARR, the unique white space that you're addressing. So you go first. Go.
Perfect. Yep. Nick Durkin, field CTO here at Harness. We are invested in by Menlo Ventures, by IVP, ServiceNow, and Google Ventures. Ultimately, Harness's job is to easily, repeatably, and securely allow people to deploy software without the fear of breaking things. As far as customers, we have over 250 customers, and yeah, I think that's a good start there.
Great stuff. So you're through your B round, is that right?
We are through our B round, correct? Yeah, we've done a B round of funding at 110 million raised to date, and our founder, Jyoti Bansal, was the actual founder and CEO of AppDynamics previously. So this is his second.
Awesome. Hey, so question for you. What, again, is the problem that you're addressing in the enterprise? What's the pain point?
Yeah, when you think about software delivery today, every CIO on this forum wants to increase the velocity of how fast they deploy software, and it becomes rather difficult if it's not entirely automated, and then even verifying it becomes a bottleneck. So ultimately allow you to truly easily, repeatably, and securely deploy software without the fear of breaking things. Move fast and break things doesn't work in our enterprise customers. We have to move fast without breaking things, so we allow you to do that.
Fascinating. And how many customers do you have already?
250 customers to date. and we've been selling since 2017.
So really just selling for 3 years.
That's it. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Brilliant story. Love it. Love it. Great job. Hey, Mark Cusack. Mark's the CTO at Yellowbrick. Mark, great to see you again.
Hi there. How are you?
Great. Welcome to the program. Same question. Total addressable market, where you're at with your funding, the pain point and the open space that you're addressing. What's unique?
Yeah, hi everybody. Mark Cusack here, CTO at Yellowbrick. Yellowbrick provides a modern data warehouse solution for the hybrid cloud. And as soon as I mentioned data warehousing, you can just get some sort of insight into the size of the total addressable market. I mean, you're talking $20 billion and going upwards, and an extremely disrupted market as well right now with the Snowflake IPO and new companies like ourselves, Yellowbrick, coming onto the interview as well.
Excellent. And your funding?
So Yellowbrick has raised 170 million so far, came out of stealth in 2017, backed by Menlo, GV, Next 47, Third Point, DFG, quite a cast of characters.
Fascinating stuff. And again, the pain point you're addressing in the marketplace is?
I think data warehousing has seen little in the way of disruption or differentiation in the last 20 years. And people want something new and different out of data warehousing. It's still probably the most important place where your data lives in an enterprise. It sounds old and crusty, but it's still critically important when you're keeping the lights on in a business. And so I think what companies are looking for is enterprises are looking for are new ways of doing data warehousing in a new world, where we're moving to the need for insights at the speed of thought, the idea of doing batch processing, batch reporting, historical analytics is making way for more real-time interactions with end customers, more predictive and prescriptive analytics, but still the heart of running the business where the most valuable data is in the data warehouse.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming on the program. Hey, next up is Nikhil Gupta. Nikhil's a co-founder and CEO of ArmorCode, a serial entrepreneur. Nikhil, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Hunter. It's good to be back again here. And ArmorCode, we are relatively a younger company. We just started in the COVID, so we want to be the largest COVID success history. We started 4 months ago. We raised a seed round from CRO Ventures, and thanks for having interest, HMG Ventures. The problem that we are looking at is we want to simplify the application security. One of the biggest things which is happening as part of COVID is the digital transformation, which means there's a lot of software which is getting written. And as Nick mentioned that, in the software development, basically it has to be done in a repetitive fashion. And what we add to the mix over there is how we can do it in a repetitive fashion and add security, right? So while Nick ensures that it's a DevOps automation and everything is there, we want to add security at the pace of development. 20 plus years ago, when I was at Bell Labs, we used to have a software release once every 9 months or a year. And then after that, we will go back and do the testing, right? And it was all in a waterfall method that you do one thing and then you go to the other. However, the way software development has evolved is agile. And now people are developing and releasing software every other week or every week. And so, the traditional application security tools aren't enough. And that's where we are helping the problem.
Excellent. Thanks, Nikhil. Next up, we have Kunal Agarwal, a CEO and co-founder of Unravel Data. Kunal, good to see you.
Good to see you, Hunter. Thank you for having me here. Kunal Agarwal, co-founder.
Give us an update.
Yeah, co-founder, CEO of Unravel Data. We are backed by Menlo Ventures. Looks like we're all in good company here. GGV Capital, Harmony, Point72, and Microsoft Ventures. So what we focus here at Unravel is to radically simplify data operations. Every company now has advanced analytics, machine learning, AI, what we call big data as part of their stack. And what we make sure is to simplify all of the data operations activities that start from creating an application to promoting that application to maintaining that application in production. A lot of companies are challenged today with just making sense of it all. And what Unravel provides is a AI-driven operations mechanism that helps you automate root cause analysis, keeping your costs low, or even modernizing your big data stack. So today, Unravel is deployed on over 20,000 big data nodes out there, and we serve a large variety of customers, most of whom are in the enterprise space. But as we all know, every company is now becoming a data company. So we hope to continue to serve more and more customers as they are starting their journey on big data.
How are you guys? How are you scaling up?
Yeah, so 100 customers, and primarily large size enterprises. So top 5 banks use Unravel, top 5 healthcare companies use Unravel, a lot of telecom companies, and now with COVID, it's not surprising that there's a lot of companies that have gotten a push who are the stay-at-home companies. So we're starting to see a lot more entertainment, gaming, and just web-first companies starting to use the product as well.
Excellent, excellent. What keeps you up at night? What's on your mind there?
I mean, the California fires just stopped, so now I'm sleeping better. But what keeps me up? Everybody wants to advance their company with data, and what keeps us up as a company as a whole is just making sure that these things get into production, right? It's no longer a science project. It's no longer companies just experimenting with, hey, let's go and see what data we have in our company. And now they're moving to the next stage of actually making it valuable to move their companies forward. And we are always just trying to figure out ways in which we can level the playing field, so it's not just Facebook and Google who are doing the most with data, that every company can now actually start to utilize that data in a more meaningful fashion. So we're always thinking about, hey, how do we take one step away? How do we automate another step so that this data gets accessible to everybody out there?
Excellent, great. Stay with us there. We'll circle back to you in just a minute. Hey, back to you, Nick. When you think about the customers that can get the most out of Harness.io, what kind of a situation, what kind of industry, and what kind of a customer enterprise?
Yeah, great question. Our customers branch across massive enterprises, financial institutions, telcos, down to small to medium online presence. So whether you're retail or whether you're anything, I think if you have a mission critical application that you want to deliver fast, and you want to make sure that you maintain good quality for your customers, that's where Harness can help you. If you think about it, anyone who's trying to hire and has an open headcount for DevOps individuals, which I'm sure a lot of the CIOs do here, this is a place where we can help you, right? So we can take the talent that you already have and allow them to scale, as opposed to having to go hire 27 new ones.
What does an engagement look like? What does it look like rolling out and implementing Harness.io?
Yeah, great question. So we actually do a proof of value traditionally in a day. For our commercial folks who do it in 3 hours. So we go through and from artifact of what your developers have built, take it into an environment, verify it, make sure that it's good, connect with all of your tooling, make sure it meets your governance. Traditionally, we'll do that in a day. We'll get your first deployment out before lunch. If this is more complicated than what you do today, don't use it.
Well said. Well said. And how can people get in touch with you or the company?
Sure. The best part here is that you can go to harness.io. You can try it for free. You can get a hold of them, of course, our entire company, to be able to either do a proof of value with us to be able to test it out, but go to harness.io to get your free trial today.
Okay, great. Love it. Again, thanks for coming on the program. Great to see you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mark, same idea and question for you at Yellowbrook. How do people get started with you?
It's really easy. We just announced a free 30-day trial. So you can go to yellowbrook.com and sign up and evaluate it for yourselves. And, we offer that on the cloud and delivered as a service. So you simply get an endpoint in your public cloud VPC, and you can start loading data, start running analytics straight away. And we can do that for you on premises as well.
Excellent. And again, what kind of a client, what kind of an enterprise looks best for you in terms of your fit?
Yeah, I think if you look at our customer lists, we are really making big strides in the banking and financial services sector. We're also big in the insurance sectors as well. And I think what's really special about these companies is they have exacting standards for data quality and the quality of the results and the timeliness of the results as well. And they have a requirement to be available 24/7, 365 days of the year. And so the Yellow Brick Data Warehouse, for example, runs fraud detection portals for pretty much any online payment that isn't done through Amazon. It's ultimately the fraud detection mechanisms to secure your payments are ultimately powered by Yellowbrick behind the scenes as the core data warehouse powering that real-time online application. And we've got lots of kind of examples of where it's used in these mission critical areas.
So this whole pandemic, when it played out, it kind of played right into your wheelhouse in terms of data traffic, right?
It did, and you know, never has there been the requirement been higher to power all of these online payments, and it's not just online payments. We've got customers in the healthcare sector as well, and so critically for our customers that are either in the claims processing area or the healthcare provider areas as well, it's critical for their data warehouses to be kept up and running and servicing those payments.
And how can people reach out to you and get started?
Get in touch at yellowbrick.com. We are poised, ready to give you a demo of the product, or as I said, to take advantage of our 30-day free trial. We have a very, very cost-effective solution here. I mean, we run on a subscription basis for $10,000 a month. You can get access to a data warehouse that will manage up to 10 terabytes of your data for you. So 10K a month, you'll be hard-pressed to find a solution in Snowflake or AWS Redshift or Oracle or SQL Server that can kind of start small there, but we can scale it to petabytes as well.
Oh, well said, Mark. I appreciate you coming on the program. Hey, Nikhil, you're kind of the standout in this panel, I think. You're really early, right?
Yeah. So we just launched our beta a couple of weeks ago. And we are engaged with several large enterprises. We have been talking to, Fortune 10, Fortune 50 companies. Our target market is anywhere from, 100 million to 50 billion. It's a pretty wide spectrum, but basically medium to large enterprises. It's very easy to get started. It's a SaaS solution. And, anybody can reach out to either armorcode.com, either email me at ng@armorcode.io, or we'll be very soon getting on the HMG marketplace. So, we have all various channels of getting inbound inquiries.
And what kind of size, what kind of a profile of an enterprise do you think fits best for you, Nikhil?
So basically, our ideal customer profile is somebody who has between 5 to 10 application security tools and have 2 to 3 at the least application security engineers. So these are the customers who have probably, I would say anywhere between 20 to 200 applications or microservices. So this will be an ideal customer profile for us.
Gotcha. Great. Thanks so much for coming on the program. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
And finally, Kunal, you want to wrap it up?
Yes. So it's really simple. If you're using, big data technologies, Kafka, Spark, Impala, Amazon EMR, Snowflake, Databricks, all of the above, or any of the above, and if you've got a problem which says, my apps are slow, my data pipelines are not working, or this thing is too expensive, right? And your data operations people are just falling behind on certain areas. That's who Unravel is for. It's automated. It helps you resolve problems fast. It helps you lower your cost of running all these big data applications and guaranteeing SLAs to your customers. And how do you work with us? Well, we have the free trial on our website that any of your data operations people, your data scientists, your data engineers can log in, get it, hook it up to your environment, and get all the Unravel benefits. If you are in a situation which you need some hand-holding, we do have a customer success team that will be happy to work beside you to get it everything from up and running to showing you success throughout the entire process as well. You can always visit our website to get in touch with us. You can drop us a line at hello@unraveldata.com. And for all of you, you can drop me a personal line at kunal@unraveldata.com. I'd be more than happy to help you guys out.
Hey guys, great job today. Really impressed with each company, each of you individually as well. please check out the HMG Marketplace and the Innovation Accelerator into 2021, as well as standalone innovation accelerators, hour-long summits that we'll be holding so you can reach our network digitally. Take care and enjoy your Thanksgiving, folks.
Thank you always, Hunter.
Thank you all.
Good to see you all.
Bye-bye.
Next up, we have Craig McGrath. Craig's the Group Vice President and Group Global Service Delivery Support at Rimini Street. Hey, Craig, good to see you, and apologies on the missed sequence there.
Hey, Hunter, nice to talk to you again.
Always. Hey, give us a high level about Rimini Street. What's so unique about you all and what you're doing, which really differentiates you completely in the whole market space?
For sure. So we offer companies a choice. They can save a lot of money from the maintenance that they're otherwise paying to Oracle and SAP. Rimini Street clients receive better support for a broader range of products and versions than our competitors. This has allowed our clients to have more control over their own business-driven roadmap. So 24/7 global support, and we're providing support to many essential service providers. And you've had some great providers on the conference so far today. We're providing support to mass manufacturers in healthcare, government agencies, telecommunications, energy providers, and even some of those fast food providers that are helping us to all stay sane. So a number of unique things. Every engineer that you talk to has answering your first call, and every call has 10 years of experience or more. We support custom code, which is usually out of scope for our competitors. And you might have guessed by now, but we've got a lot of very happy customers. So we've got that reputation.
Hey, Craig, give us an idea of what it's like to run a global organization. You're in some 17 countries. Talk to us about the journey that brought you here and what it's like leading through this pandemic.
For sure. So I've always loved running support teams and providing support personally. There's a bit of an adrenaline to this work. When people call for help, they're out of ideas and they really need some real support. I led support for 12 years at one of the world's largest aerospace and defense companies, and then led support again at Visa. And I spent some time after that as a consultant in the Bay Area. It was profitable, but I realized that I missed support. It was tough for me to deliver a project and then kind of sit back and have somebody else do support. So 8 years ago, I had a conversation with our co-founder and CEO, and he said if I could join and I could build up the support team I always wanted. So I thought that was a challenge that I was looking for. When I started, the team was so much smaller. I've interviewed thousands since then, hired hundreds, and we've really built something truly amazing. I'm thrilled to report that some of the very best out of my earlier teams are now here with me at Rimini Street and hold some key roles. And we've kept that quality so high. So we've got just so many enthusiastic professionals that share a passion for great 24/7 customer support.
Hey, Craig, to be very open and direct, I mean, sometimes when you're married to, say, the Oracle world or the SAP world, it's kind of like a dysfunctional relationship or a bad relationship, right? And how do you guys ease that pain and then help your client redirect the thinking, the energy, the service towards really, truly what's world-class or modern customer service look like?
So sometimes, Hunter, there's some support that we have to give where people are working through those emotions. They can be pretty kind of riled up by the support experience that they've had. And it's a big change, coming across to a genuine support team. So we trained our team, every engineer in every corner of the world, on how to best deliver what we call first-class support. So if you think back only a year ago, I spent the year visiting engineers in many countries, in fact, 11 different countries we visited in 2019, how the world has changed, right, in that time. One of the exercises that I use there is during these in-person meetings is to ask people to think of a bad customer service experience. It's not hard to do this. Everyone has examples of bad customer service. But then I ask about good service and how does that good service experience make them feel about the organization who is delivering it? And so for me, modern customer service means putting support at the forefront of your brand. We have it right in the tagline, we're engineered for support, but maybe don't want to be quite that bold, but for every industry and every team, we're serving customers of some description. So those companies that put customer support as their first priority, they're going to come out the winners, I believe.
Interesting times, right? When you think about how you help people redirect those resources and redirect that thinking towards innovation, digital innovation, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I think we're very fortunate to have some amazing clients that in pretty much every industry around the world, and we get very deep in how we're engaging with them, whether they take them through the preparations for the big sales coming up at the end of this week, working with a lot of retailers in that space. We've been working with telcos with the launch of the new telephone products, but we're there to help them through that journey. CIOs are facing some pretty tough budget decisions right now, so cash is extremely important for everybody. We've been offering guidance to relook at projects that people have got planned. And if you can't show a return on investment the same year that you roll out that project, think about postponing that initiative entirely. So, if a hot tip, a way to do this, if you're not 100% sure there's going to be a return on investment, make the responsibility for the person who's delivering the project to deliver the return on that project as well. And it really helps to sharpen those pencils. So CIOs can take a tough stand now, make the savings this year, and invest only where it will really pay off and help to keep hold of that cash.
Well, hey, this pandemic probably really played into your wheelhouse. CIOs are really dealing with tough decisions around budget decisions. I mean, what's your advice for CIOs in that realm?
It's been an interesting economy because obviously we've had a lot of clients that have been doing it tough and they're looking for savings. So one of the benefits with Rimini Street is guaranteed savings. You're already spending the money today. You can absolutely save the money the first year and every other year. But after that, it's helping them to then do what's next. It's not just saving that initial money. It's, well, then what else are we going to be doing? So dispelling that myth that, if they come across to a different support provider, then they're locked out of change. And we look to unlock that myth and help people go down a different journey, maybe show them what other customers have been doing, because we're passionate about this technology. We think they've got great databases, great ERP systems. We want them to make the most out of that initial investment.
What does an ideal engagement look like for you, and what's the range?
Yeah, so we have customers that typically customers that have got an already in place ERP system and who are looking to really maximize the investment that they have in that system are great. Sometimes customers come to us and they're considering an upgrade, and we've taken customers through those upgrades as well. We're not a systems integrator, but in providing them better support during that time is good. So established ERP systems or database technology systems, they're looking for better support, and they really want to take better control of their own roadmap rather than be in the hands of the vendors.
Interesting. When we last checked in, was back around the Chicago timeframe. You have some bold predictions around the future of customer service. How they all play out, and where's the industry going?
Yeah, so we attend other conferences. Believe it or not, Hunter, we attend other conferences other than just HMG events. And I know, shocking, right? Some of these are around customer service, and one of the words that is often talked about there that disturbs me a little is deflection. So technology today allows the price of call centers and things like that to be lowered by technology, so AI and multi-channel. So my bold prediction is that customer service will be divided into those using technology for good, and let's just say those that are not using it for good. So perhaps you can have an AI chatbot simulate a human well enough to fool most of the callers, but it doesn't mean you should do that. Maybe you can mine the data about your end users and cross-sell or upsell on every call when you deliver service. Doesn't mean you should do that. So I think this is an example where there's going to be winners and losers, and I'm betting on technology here that bring clients and support people together more quickly. So we have used AI, and we've got some really favorable press on this to find the right engineer at the right time, speaking the right language with the right skills each and every time. And I think that's a great use of technology. And I think that the people that follow those sorts of paths, I think, are going to ultimately end up the winners in this game.
Well, is it fair to say technology for good, right?
Technology for good, exactly. I mean, we really can use it to bring the right people together. And even though we're all so far apart now with this pandemic, it's the human to human interaction is still so important. So getting to talk to a friendly engineer on the line who's there interested in your problem and enthusiastic about the tech, we bring that every day. And so we've been remote workers for a long while, but it's really been making those human connections is really what it's all about, and that drives a lot of very satisfied clients.
Well, as you said, also an engineer that has 10 years of experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it means oftentimes it's a bit more of a birds of a feather experience. You're not trying to have to explain to the engineers the basics. You can just get up and running straight away. And people are very comforted by that, you know, one phone call and they've got access to that. They don't need to play any games to try and get hold of talented engineers.
Well, you guys have been at it for a while, Craig, so you must really have the playbook. You know, when they're coming from one group or the other group, the other company, you know exactly how to really love your customer and delight them with customer service.
It's been 15 years now that Rimini Street has been doing this, and I think we've got the playbook pretty well down. You know, it's making sure, again, connecting the right engineer at the right time with that right client. And certainly, you know, we've seen some evolution, certainly, in you know, post-pandemic, but yeah, it's been a great journey to kind of see, you know, getting those engineers in front of our clients.
And so both mid-sized and large-sized enterprises?
For sure. I mean, we've got some of the world's largest companies, some large energy producers. We've got large car manufacturers in our midst of clients, through to, you know, smaller, discrete manufacturers. We've got some of the world's largest pharmaceuticals companies. So, you know, all over the map. There's really no one group for Rimini Street. If they're using software from Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, IBM, we've likely got a solution for you, and better support than they've ever received in the past.
You know, the overarching mission and vision and credo or values of your company?
Yeah, so we talk about the 24/7 global support mission, and really it's providing access to top talent at the right time. It's also enabling our clients to do things. And, you know, I listened to the ideas from the marketplace just a little bit earlier. I mean, there are some great innovative things out there that people need to free up the funds to go and innovate. And oftentimes IT, your hands are tied behind your back. I was always the guy paying 22% maintenance each and every year, but I knew that if the chips were down and I needed support, I couldn't rely on those large software providers to help me. I had to have my own team. So now we've got that team here available 24/7. We're very, very fast, responsive, and we're there to help the customers. And that really gives them a lot of flexibility and freedom to really innovate where it's going to count.
So there is a price savings, price play here. Do you care to like venture out and say what kind of savings, or just ballpark?
Oh, look, I mean, it's our pricing's super easy. So it's exactly 50% of what they were paying to Oracle or SAP. But actually, when it comes to the real savings they make, we're seeing oftentimes it could be much greater than that too, because there's a hidden cost in the way that you're working with the vendors today. You're constantly having to upgrade. You're constantly having to have that team on standby to provide that support. It's very expensive. So yeah, we see a lot higher savings for our customers, and I think we've got calculators on the website. People can go check it out, plug in their own values and see what it would look like. But you know, it's more than just the savings. It's about that connection to like-minded engineers that are going to give you a great support experience. And really, I hope that's what we can bring is that, you know, top talent available 24/7.
Hey, Craig, great to see you. Great interview. Really, folks, check out Rimini Street. It is an amazing company with a great price point and help you redirect those funds to more innovation and other areas.
Thanks, Hunter.
Great to see you. Excellent summit. That wraps it up. I want to invite out on the stage August Pliccio. August is an invaluable player here at HMG, helping us out with social media. We drive over 100,000 views a week, as well as our top technology executives that matter program that we've been running now 12 years. Before we get into that, just one more final shout out to our partners. Eric from Zylo, he was great. RingCentral, Trevor, Rimini Street, Craig just there. Duo was Wolfgang. Eric was with Ivanti. Really appreciate your support, folks, to making this, supporting the platform, supporting the summit, and keeping us all connected in these trying or difficult times. And then our folks, Horizon 3, Unravel, Yellowbrick, really appreciate their engagement. August, you want to do a high level regarding the recognition program, what we're looking to do here locally, identify some champions, do the outreach, and roll it up into our global program, right?
Hey, Hunter, thanks for having me on the program here. So a high level on the program, it's the Global Technology Executives Who Matter Awards. But today, every company is a technology company, and everything is going global, and we're global here at HMG. As a result of that, your CEOs are expecting you, technology executives, to come armed with fresh ideas for leveraging technology, delivering new waves of business value, and driving future growth. CIOs, CTOs, CISOs, other technology executives, you play a crucial role in placing your organizations on fast track to transformation. That success doesn't happen in a vacuum, though. Those executives who are able to summon courageous leadership, think differently, and instill a passion within those teams. We've met thousands of those executives. We've awarded hundreds of them. This program is made for those who are set apart in the industry, who deliver incredible transformation, excellent business value. And we couldn't do it without you. Our audience, our network is how we created this organic program that we've been doing for over 10 years. So get involved. I'm going to leave a link in the chat for everybody here today. And I challenge you, nominate a peer, a friend, a colleague, somebody that inspires you, somebody that has delivered business value and IT transformation. This is a global program, so we'll be recognizing each market individually by their region, but also looking very much forward to our first ever global award gala in March of 2021, where we'll be really setting apart the best, the most inspiring and courageous, authentic leaders that we've awarded in the past 10 years and that we've met since the creation of HMG strategy.
Hey, August, thanks so much. Great job. Keep up the good work. What a great summit, folks. Really, really appreciate everyone's active engagement. The speakers were great. The panelists were excellent. Stay engaged. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with your friends, your family, and we have a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be grateful for. We're fortunate. We're so blessed to be in perhaps the best industry, the best time ever to be a tech leader, in the most exciting time. So stay engaged. We look forward to the next time we're all together. And again, really appreciate your support and engagement. And we'll see you again next time. Bye now.